Welcome back to the show, guys. Today we got another UFC Fight Night. Today we're bringing in UFC Fight Night Perth. That is the card that had Dominick Reyes versus Carlos Ulberg. This was a light heavyweight bout. We're gonna be breaking down what happened. Fight Night Australia. This card brought some serious action, man. Honestly, it was a little the card kind of seemed a little underwhelming, and I know they did bad with ticket sales, but I'm not gonna lie. After I saw the card, I think it was great matchmaking. I think a lot of the fights were exciting, and ultimately, I liked what I saw. We had Dominick Reyes. He's back into the action, back into the fire. He's been trying to bounce back. About a year or so ago, he went through a 3-fight losing streak. A lot of people thought he was chopped. This was coming off of that fight he had with John Jones, where a lot of people thought he won, and his career was on the up and up, and then all of a sudden it's on the down and down. He comes back and he starts getting some dubs again. People start talking about maybe possibly champ contestation. But yeah, he challenges, or I guess Carlos Ulberg challenges him. Actually, I don't know who's ranked higher. I forgot. Actually, Carlos Ulberg I think is ranked higher. So yeah, he challenges Carlos Ulberg. He had that fight. We also had Jake Mathis. He had a great fight against Neil Magny. Very controversial fight. At the end of the first round, Jake Mathis, he had Neil Magny in, I believe was it a triangle choke, I believe? No, it was a guillotine. He had him in a guillotine. I believe it was a guillotine. I can't remember. Or rear naked. Some type of neck choke. It kind of looked like the ref stopped the fight a second before the bell, which he actually did. It looked like Neil Magny, he was giving the thumbs up, and then his hand went limp. And the ref stepped in. He thought that his arm went limp because he passed out. But from what it seemed like, it didn't seem like he went out. It kind of just seemed like he had his arm kind of tucked, giving the thumbs up, and then it kind of seemed like he kind of just let it go to kind of just he was just stuck in this position, couldn't really do much. So I think he wanted to just get as comfortable as he could to try to finish the round out, survive to the next round. He was kind of getting dominated that first round, to be honest. The ref stopped the fight, and then the ref reversed his decision and allowed the fight to continue. And Neil Magny ends up getting the win via Darce choke in the third round. So a lot of controversy with that fight. Jake Matthews, I heard his camp was going to contest this decision, so maybe it'll be a no contest. I don't know. I don't think it should be a no contest. I think Neil Magny won that fight fair and square. Maybe he gets the rematch. Who knows? But yeah, like I said, the UFC, they had a hard time selling tickets. Allegedly half the stadium was empty about 2 or 3 days before the event, which is kind of unheard of in the UFC. They do a pretty good job with ticket sales for the most part. I'm hearing a lot of different things. Some people were saying, some Australians, they were saying that the problem was they were having it on the same day that the AFL was happening. I don't know what the AFL is. Let's look up at the AFL. I don't know what the AFL is, man. What is it, like a football team or some shit? Football. AFL, dude, there's fireworks. When I googled this, a bunch of fireworks popped up. I guess it's really big out there because even Google recognizes how big it is. But yeah, the AFL, it is a Australian Football League or American Football League. The Australian Football League, established in 1896, is the top professional competition for Australian rules football, also known as footy or Aussie rules. The indigenous sport combines elements from various sports and has been played for over 150 years. The American Football League was a rebel league that challenged the NFL in the 1960s. Wow, that's interesting. So yeah, I guess it's really big. So I guess it's the UFC it's almost like the UFC trying to compete with the NFL. It's probably not going to happen. I mean, the UFC is pretty big, but they're not NFL big, at least not yet. But anyways, so a lot of people were saying they had the card on the same day the AFL was on, so that hurt a lot of ticket sales. Most Aussies wanted to see the AFL. The other issue was a lot of people had a problem with the lackluster card, myself included. When I was looking at the card, I was like, it's a fight night. They don't really do a lot in Australia, fights at all. Hulk is pretty much the biggest draw out there. But yeah, they had a fight night. Reyes is cool, but the rest of the card, I didn't really know a lot. It's not that I didn't really know him. It's just was if I'm paying $500 a ticket, it's probably going to be a pass, So you got the cost of the ticket, you got the AFL that's going on, and then you got the lackluster card that people, at least how most people felt, So I guess that all led up to, the UFC not being able to sell as much tickets as they usually do. I mean, it looked pretty full still, but it was a small arena, I'm not going to lie. So with that being said, let's get this started. Welcome back to the show, guys. Cannabis and Combat Sports, The Mo Show, California Sober Podcast, MMA and marijuana, aka whatever you want to call it, dog. I'm just here. I'm just talking, man. I'm just wasting everyone's time, like I said before. The first bout I want to talk about, I'm not gonna, obviously I don't talk about all the bouts because I try to keep this under 30 minutes. It's so hard because I have so much to say about these fights, but 30 minutes or less, is what we try to shoot for. We aim for 30 minutes or less, guys. I also want to add that I'm going to try to start doing the ONE FC bouts, their Friday fight night cards. It's a lot of Muay Thai stuff. I like it. I'm going to try to see if I could fit that into the schedule. It's kind of hard though, but we'll figure it out, right? First bout I would like to talk about. This was a bout between Loma Lookboonmee versus Alexia Theanara. This was a strawweight bout. Very technical striker, right? Loma Lookboonmee, she's from Thailand. I love watching her fights. She exhibits Muay Thai in an MMA setting. When you watch her fight, she's standing straight up, right? She doesn't have that hunched over look. She's doing a lot of kicks. She usually opens up with kicks and she usually ends with kicks, a lot of body kicks. Very strong clenching, right? When she gets into the clench range, she's using that Thai clench. She's using that she's using that single arm, clench, and she uses it well. Most of the time she's able to adapt like the Thai clench into MMA. She's able to adapt her striking into MMA. It's usually not a problem for her. Very exciting striker. Obviously, she's the Thai fighter, so that's what I'm into. Mo, we like the Muay Thai. She is fighting Alexa Theanara. Alexa, she is a savage. She was unranked coming into this fight. Lookboonmee, she was ranked number 14. Alexia was unranked, but she was on a pretty, I think a 10-fight win streak. Her style is a little bit different. She's more of a grappler. I think most of her fights have gone by submission or ground and pound, from what I'm understanding. It was, just a classic fight of striking versus grappling. Where am I at here? Like I said, Loma came in. She's got that Muay Thai pedigree. Her thought process for this fight was to try to work the clench, elbows, and knees. I think she wanted to try to work some sweeps. Alexia, on the other hand, she showed up, man. She had her strong grappling. She was scrappy. This was a good fight for Alexa. I was actually surprised for Alexa because I didn't expect her striking to be that good. And albeit I don't really know this fighter too much. When I saw this card, I really just looked at Lookboonmee. But yeah, Alexa surprised me, man. Her striking was not bad, and her grappling was a handful for Lookboonmee, man. Honestly, Lookboonmee couldn't figure out how to get her off. As soon as she got that body lock, it kind of was like just a matter of time until she took her down or was able to land some significant strikes. It was just the classic fight of the grappler versus the striker, except for the grappler actually knew how to fight. You know what I'm saying? I know in the first round, Lookboonmee, she was trying to press a lot. She was pressing forward more. She was using a lot of good kicks. I think she almost landed a head kick in that first round, or she did land a head kick in that first round. 2 minutes into the first round, though, Theanara, she was able to take her down. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. I think she's Brazilian, and I'm Theanara. But anyways, yeah, she's able to take her down within the first 2 minutes of the round, and as soon as she takes her down, she gets her into her half guard, smothers her, bro. She was landing a lot of good ground and pound in that first round. Honestly, it was that first round was close to being stopped with Theanara on top, man. But yeah, she's very dominant on the grappling, man. The one thing that I noticed a lot about Theanara was her takedowns. When she went for takedowns, she didn't really do the traditional single leg, double leg takedown, and shoot. It was more of working off the clench, right? So it would be from a body lock, or she'd catch a leg, and the way she would drag Lookboonmee down was she didn't really shoot. It was more like she would kind of twist and turn in different directions and try to pull her leg or her hip down, and she'd try it one way, didn't get it, and then she'd switch it the other way. Especially with Lookboonmee, she a lot of the things that a lot of her defense for the body lock is she would kind of use her knee, she would kind of use her knee shield, one knee shield, and then with the other leg kind of plotted on the ground to try to help her balance up, And this was kind of playing into Theanara's takedown game, because as soon as that leg would go up, she would just kind of grab it and then drag it in a different direction. Honestly, I think for that fight, Theanara, her angles really were one of the biggest tools she had in this fight, and the way she was able to set her takedowns up with her angles, it really exposed a little bit of a lot of Lookboonmee's holes in her game. And her striking, bro, she was not scared to stand and strike with Lookboonmee, man. The third round, it was very exciting. Lookboonmee came out just throwing a lot of strikes, man. She I think in the first couple seconds I was outstriking Theodora, but she ended up in like these clench positions, and I don't understand why she kept trying to clench. I think she was so used to being able to dominate the space using her like Thai skills, the Thai, like using her Thai style clenching in MMA, that she kept defaulting to it with Theodora, especially when you have like someone that's got like pressure like Theodora. It's like you're trying to like stop them from moving, so you got to clench. I think that was a mistake by Lumpa Miu though. She should not have clenched. If she did clench, she should have just stuck to elbows and try to break, but try not to work too much in the clench because every time they locked up, Theodora just took her down. But you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean Theodora, she ends up getting the dub, and I'll just keep it to that. I think I spoke a little too much on this fight, anyways, because I do got to keep it short. So I believe that was already over a couple, like a minute or two. But I just wanted to mention it because I like Lumpa Miu a lot. I've seen her. She's very aggressive. She reminds me of a Stamp. I remember her last loss. She took it so hard, man. She was posting. I followed her on IG. She was posting how disappointed she was, and she's just a cool person, man. I like her style and stuff, and I just like her personality. So I thought I'd throw that in the mix. This next bout I want to talk about: Brando Pure Kick versus Alicia Ellison. Yes, Alicia is a man. He's not a woman fighting in a man's division. He is yeah. Let me pull these stats up real quick. Brando Pure Kick versus Alicia Ellison. Like I said, Alicia Ellison is a man, also spelled just like a girl's name, Elisha. Not sure where he's from and how they do that. But Brando Pure Kick, versus Alicia Ellison. This is a heavyweight bout. Brando Pure Kick, he's coming in. He's got a 4-1-0 record. That's 4 wins, 1 loss, 0 draws with 3 TKOs and 1 sub. Ellison, he's coming in with the MMA record of 5-1-0. 4 TKOs and 1 sub. It's pretty close. Yeah, honestly, like for matchmaking, it's a pretty close. The stats are pretty similar, right? But anyways, it was both these guys' UFC debut, so I knew this was going to be a good fight. Usually you have 2 guys that are coming in. They're going to try to make a statement. I heard a lot of good stuff about Brando Pure Kick. He comes from City Kickboxing. I believe he was talking about how, I'm not sure if it was this guy. Yeah, so this I believe this guy said he worked a lot with Israel Adesanya. That's a teammate of his that helped mold his style. And Israel Adesanya was in the crowd watching his teammates, so I gotta imagine it's true. Like I said, it was a battle of strikers, man. This fight was a grind, man. Pure Kick wanted to keep it standing, and Ellison tried to drag it into the grappling exchanges, right? The clashes of the style made this fight pretty interesting. I mean, I don't. Okay, let me rephrase that. Right, so it wasn't really clashes of style, right? I'm sorry, I don't know why I wrote that, dude. I think I wrote that for a different person because, from what I saw, it's a battle of strikers, baby. Right from the beginning, Pure Kick, he was opening up with a lot of low kicks, man. Before even throwing 1 punch, he threw, I believe, 3 low kicks, and then after he threw a cross in between it, he went and did like a body kick. So it was like for every basically 3 kicks, he was throwing 1 punch. I like that style. And it shows that he trains at City Kickboxing. I've seen a few of the City Kickboxing guys show up that night, and their styles are similar. That it's like the pressure and the way they build the combinations are all pretty similar, and that makes sense because that's how we do it at Spider, right? It's like we all have Frankie's style in mind when we train, the way we hold pads, the way we teach people. It's like, yeah, you're gonna mix in your own style, but it's like the pad holding is the way that Frankie teaches us, right? And that's the stuff, drillers make killers, baby. The pad holding is what kind of what makes your striking more surgical, I guess you could say, right? Pure Kick, he was doing a good job. He was staying on the outside hard kicks. Ellison, he kept getting backed up, man. I mean, I didn't see a lot of activity from his opponent, Ellison. I mean, at one point, I think Pure Kick lands a good right hand and takes him down. He takes Ellison down, and then he just starts punching away. He has him against the fence, and that's the end of it, man. I think Ellison tries to go for like a single or like a double leg. Pure Kick defends, and Ellison ends up pulling guard, right? He ends up pulling guard, and he falls to the ground, pulls guard, and then lays down, and Pure Kick just gets on top of him and just kind of like knocks him out. I think last time I did one of these for the Notre event, someone pulled guard and got knocked out, if I'm not mistaken, or he pulled guard and got messed up. I mean, guys, dude, you got to be careful with the pulling guard in MMA, man. Some people can do it, right? Some people can get it done, but for the most part, you should probably not pull guard in MMA. You know what I mean? I mean, even Kron Gracie couldn't do it. And that's like that dude's been doing just like his whole life, man. But yeah, pure kick. He gets in here. He's what is it? What was this, a heavyweight bout or light heavy? This was a heavyweight bout. Hearing a lot of good things about Pure Kick even before coming into this fight. A lot of people were saying he's going to bring some excitement to the heavyweight division, and I agree. It's a pretty still division, right? It's like, I mean, Jones is gone now, or is he back? Who knows? He's gone. He's back. He might be at the White House. We don't freaking know. Maybe they should do a Jones versus Reyes. That'd be interesting. Elimination. Loser gets cut forever, never come back. That'd be an interesting one. Who knows? This next fight I want to talk about, though, honestly, I wasn't even going to talk about it. I didn't even look at the stats for this fight. I watched this after the fact it happened. I saw it this morning. Last night, I went out to Oktoberfest with some friends, and we had a jolly old German time. No Yeezy. But I saw the name of this fighter, and I just was like, I want to talk about him just because of his name. His name is Colby Thickness versus Josiah Musasa. Colby Thickness, that is his actual real name. He's a white boy. He's from Australia. I believe he's a native Australian or something. Not sure what is up with the last names out there, but Colby Thickness, baby. Let's go with the thick and the nest, dog. But yeah, he was fighting Musasa. I mean, dude, that was a fire card, bro. Honestly, I mean, Thickness, he came out aggressive, man. He tried to overwhelm Musasa pretty early on, and like he couldn't, dude. He tried in like the first couple of seconds, and Musasa just literally like within like the first couple of seconds was like, nope, pushed him against the back ropes. I pushed him against the end of the back of the cage. See, I mean, like, here's the thing, like, so Kobe. Let me start with the stats, right? Kobe Thickness. This was a bantamweight bout. Thickness was coming in. He's got a 7-1-0 record, right? And that's 2 KOs, 2 subs, right? And Musasa, he was coming in with the 8-1 record, 7 KOs, only KOs. I don't think I got any subs. And there everything else, and like there was okay. And then here, height, right? I mean, let's talk about reach, right? So Colby was 5'7" with a 69-inch reach advantage. A disadvantage, I mean, and Musasa's was 5'8" with a 74-inch reach advantage, right? So they were height-wise, they weren't too far off, but wingspan, there was kind of a gap there, is a couple inches. So that was kind of interesting. Kobe Thickness, after I clicked his name, after I saw his actual what he looked like and him. I do remember I saw him in the past. He's a guy who trains with Volk. He talks about it a lot. I remember in his past fights, his cardio was something that stood out to me. He was able to. He wasn't like a Colby Covington or anything, which would be so funny. Colby Thickness, Colby Covington with cardio. He wasn't like a Colby Covington, but he had good cardio, bro, and he definitely uses it as a tool, very similar to how Covington does, but not at that type of level. Josiah Musasa, don't know much about this guy. I kind of looked some stuff up. I knew he was a striker. Phenomenal striking. I mean, like right when that bell rang for the first round, Thickness tried to establish his dominance, but it didn't go too good. I mean, honestly, Musasa's was just too technical with the striking. He was throwing good hand combinations. He was fast and strong, dude, and he had good combinations. Honestly, like Thickness just didn't seem like he had an answer for the striking. It got to a point where he was kind of just shelling up, and for the most part, for all 3 rounds, he was kind of running away from Musasa's. He was able to get Musasa's down on a few occasions, and when he was able to get him down, he dominated. That first round, Musasa's was applying crazy pressure. He was just stalking him. Every time he hit him hard, Thickness would run away, Eventually, like, Thickness was able to land like a body lock, and after he just was once he got that body lock in the first round, he got it and he didn't want to let it go, and he eventually got the takedown and he landed in full mount, which he did on more than one occasion. That's a technique that it looked like he was working on, right? He would get the underhooks, go for the sweep. I guess I don't remember if it was a sweep or like a hip toss. I can't remember, but it would start off with like the double underhooks, right? And when he would take him down, he would kind of slide into mount. And it worked. It worked really, really well. Honestly, when it landed, at the end of the first round, Thickness was able to get Musasa's down, and he basically pummeled Musasa's. He beat the crap out of him. Musasa's face got all swollen. I mean, Musasa's was doing work on the striking, and it looked like he was gonna the trajectory of the fight was gonna go in his favor until he got taken down. He couldn't really do much, honestly. And the round ended with Thickness on top, and basically just, ground and pounds, if I'm not mistaken. But the second round, things took a turn. Mousas's did a lot better job at defending the takedowns. Whatever his corner told him freaking worked. He came out there, was landing his hard ass strikes, dude. I'm telling you, he hits so hard and he's so fluid with the striking, dude. And anytime Thickness would try to clinch up with him, he was able to throw the double underhooks or kind of move out of the way. He did a much better job in the second round. Thickness just seemed like he knew he couldn't stand and bang with him, and so he would just try to get him against the cage or try to grapple. But the second round, Mousas's was kind of like more smarter to it, and so he was doing a good job at angling out and, like I said, fighting the underhooks. Something he didn't fight the underhooks at all in the first round, from what I remember. Third round, Mousas's gets hit with a hard ass nut shot, dude. It looked like Thickness threw like a low kick or a body kick. I can't remember. Right when Musasu switched stances, and when he switched stances, they went just straight up to his dick. The dude took a hard knee. I believe he took all of the 5 minutes, and he even asked the ref if he could pee. Which the ref was like, "No, you can't pee, bro. If you can't continue, then you can't continue." But he took the 5 minutes. I kind of felt like that was a hard hit to the grind, and it was at such an important round, right? Because I gave the first round to Thickness, I give the second round to Mousas's, so I feel like it's whoever wins this third round was going to determine the winner, right? I think in a case like that, you might have to. I think I would have deducted a point just because I was like, this is too much of an important round, Thickness ends up going for a takedown. He doesn't get it, right? Mousas's defends, and that's kind of how it was the second round. Every takedown that Thickness went for, Mousas's was able to defend. He defends it, but then instead of just giving up, a Thickness switches. I can't remember what he went for. Let me see if I wrote it down. He shoots for a takedown. It gets stuffed, and then Thickness just immediately goes for a second takedown, and Mousasi just isn't able to stop the second one. And that's what you got to do in for a lot of these exchanges when you can't get your opponent down. You got to go for a double or triple take. It's like trying to knock someone out. You know what I mean? It's not about one or two punches, right? It's the third punch that knocks him out, or the fourth, or it's like a buildup of punches. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the takedown, but Thickness gets Mousasi's down. For the most part, Mousasi's is able to defend a lot of the damage. He does get hit with a couple, but nothing too serious. But yeah, I mean, the fight ends with a Thickness on top. The judges gave it to Thickness. I didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with that bout or with that decision. I think that Mousasa did enough. Did I say Mousasa, sorry, with just one A. I think Mousasa did enough the second round. He obviously got the second round. I think he did more damage in the third round. Plus, you got to take into account the nut strike. But I think even Thickness he took him down in the last 2 minutes, right? So that's 3 minutes, I believe, that was on the feet, which Mousasa was dominating, right? So Thickness got on top, and he ends the round on top. He landed some good strikes, but mostly I think a lot of the points came from him just ending on top. I don't personally agree with that. I feel like that round should have went to Mousasa, but what do I know? Pause. Where the fuck did I put the joint, baby? Let's go. This wouldn't be a cannabis in combat sports if I didn't smoke a little cannabis. So I got some iced coffee on the side right here. I'm trying to level myself out, right? Because the weed makes me talk slow and chill, And so I'm trying to get the coffee to try to get me talkative and not slowed down and chill. Or maybe it's just early starting to CTE. If you guys haven't checked out my last episode, it should have already dropped. Go check out my last interview. I interviewed Joey Beltran. He was the Mexicutioner, UFC veteran, possibly CTE. Very intense, very sad. But very great guy, dude. He's kind, and I love that guy, man. He's cool as hell. Check it out. I'm pretty sure the algorithm isn't going to like it. Talked a lot about bloody stuff. They do not like when we talk about gore like that. They get all weird. It's Halloween, man. We're talking about gore. Now going on to a card I'm really going to go in depth about. I know these are just little teasers, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, keep you guys entertained. I'm trying to fill you guys in. But at the same time, I got to fit all this in a time slot, right? And I think I'm already close to 30 minutes. So some stuff I'm going to have to cut out. I might have to cut out one of the fights. I might have to cut out that last fight I just said. But Neil Magny versus Jake Matthews, man. Neil Magny, he's a hometown favorite, right? He's been fighting in the UFC for a long time now. I think something like 10 years or more, maybe even more than 10 years. Okay, so I know he was a ranked fighter for 10 years, right? So he probably has been fighting for 12 in the UFC for 12 years or 15 years, who knows? But yeah, he was. That was a stat they did shoot off, that he was a ranked fighter for 10 consecutive years at one point, right? Jake Mathis, man, he's no slouch. He's all around great fighter. Is Jake Mathis from City Kickboxing as well? I'm not sure. But Jake Matthews all around, he's a very well-rounded fighter. His striking stands out quite a bit, though. A lot of these Australian guys have good striking, I noticed. I don't know what's up with that, man. They like to bang it out in Australia. We like that, dude. But yeah, this was the most controversial fight of the night. Should I get to the controversy? I'll get to the controversy. In round one, right? The way the first round was going, Jake Matthews was dominating, in my opinion. Oh, not like completely dominating, but he was getting the better of exchanges. His combinations he had good combinations. He shot a lot of body shots. He's kind of like an Ilia Tempora type of dude. He likes to kind of get you against the fence, right? And then he'll kind of plant his feet down, and he'll start throwing hooks and uppercuts and a lot of that like inside boxing style, hit the body, come over the top. He likes to just plant down and hit as hard as he can, right? Neil Magny is a different type of striker. He kind of likes to move around a lot, and when he does strike, he's generally moving forward on his strike. So he'll like kind of lunge forward off a 1-2, and a lot of his shots are just off that lunge forward. Lunge forward and a hook, or cut an angle hook, whatever. Jake Matthews is different animal. He, like I said, he likes to get planted, kind of just stand in front of you and bang. Vanderlei Silva-esque, like I said, Ilia Tempora-esque. This is going to be a good fight. I had Neil Magny ahead. I thought he was going to, I thought he was not ahead. I thought he was going to win the fight. But watching Jake Matthews, I was wrong for the most part, right? He pretty much was dominating Neil Magny in the striking. Towards the end of the first round, he gets on top. He somehow secures a guillotine. I can't remember how it happened, but so I think it was actually Neil Magny that initiated the clinch exchange. But anyways, Jake Matthews, he ends up on top. He gets a guillotine, and he rolls it over. I'll get a picture of it right here. I'm sorry, I'm like high, so I'm trying to remember. But he's on top. He's got the guillotine, and a second before the bell rings, the ref stops the fight. Right? And it's mostly because he's talking to Neil, and Neil's giving him the thumbs up, and then he lets his right shoulder go, his whole arm go. Right? It kind of loosens it up. I think to the ref, he thought that it was that he went out, and so he stops the fight, and then the bell rings. The second he stops the fight, like literally 1 second after he stops the fight, the bell rings. Right? Neil gets up, and he's like, "What the?" Contested it immediately, right? It does not look like, in my opinion, from the camera angle I saw, it didn't look like Neil Magny went out. It looked like the ref did a bad job at calling. And I understand, especially when you got a choke like that, you want to make sure the dude is getting oxygen to his brain. You don't want to cut off the circulation for too long, right? You don't want him to be a vegetable and have that on your, have that on your conscience, right? I get it, but you got to make sure, man. You got to check. You shake him up. If he moves back, then he's good or something, bro, right? Referee called the fight. Fight was over. Then he basically reversed it. I mean, the ref basically said, "My bad, my mistake. We're going to round two." At the time, Jake Matthews did not look like he cared. He just was like, "All right, I just dominated him in the first round. I'm going to dominate him in the second round again." And he went into that second round, and it was the same thing. Like I said, he did dominate that second round. He was coming forward a lot. It just seemed like Neil Magny couldn't get his footing. Let me get these stats too, by the way. I forgot to get the stats. I'll probably have to cut this out and move it to the front. But Neil Magny versus Jake Matthews. This is a welterweight fight. Magny's coming in. He's got a 30-14-0 record, 9 KOs, 5 subs. Matthews, he's got a 22-7-0 record, 6 KO, 8 subs. I mean, the difference in the reach is pretty noticeable, right? Matthews, he's 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. Magny is 6'3" with an 80-inch reach advantage. So it's what was that, like 7 inches or something? Yeah, or 6 inches? Does 6 inches matter, baby? It was noticeable how the height difference was noticeable, right? And like I said, and especially the way that Magny fights is where he likes to launch forward and punch. Is like he likes to move around a lot, and I feel like it's gonna be a disadvantage for Matthews, but I ate my words. Like I said, Matthews' striking was crisp, bro. Very like kickboxing, Muay Thai, coming forward. Good combinations, dude. Beautiful combinations. But yeah, in the second round, Matthews, at some point early on in the fight, Matthews lands right at the beginning of the fight, Matthews lands a hard jab, and it sends Magny, flying back into the cage. And then he follows it with a hard body shot, and he's just landing some good body shots, and he's loading up so hard too. Every time he swings, he's just loading up and striking and hitting, bam. And then there's like kind of like So there's like a scramble, and while Magny defends the rear naked, there's like a scramble. Matthews scrambles with them, rolls with it. He basically ends up on top. He's got him in a triangle, and he's punching him in the face. He's trying to sink the triangle. He tries to switch it over to like an arm bar. I think it's like I don't even know what to call it. Triangle armbar. I don't know. But he's just dominating him on the ground, dude. And he doesn't get the submission or anything, but Magny's able to survive, right? And he minimizes the strikes, right? But he just, that's all he's doing is surviving, right? Third round, like I said, same thing starts. I mean, at this point, Magny knows he's down in the cards. He's experienced, right? He's got like 30-something fights or 30-something wins, probably 40 fights total in the UFC. Magny just starts throwing everything at Matthews, man. Magny knows he's down 2 rounds. He's just trying to do what he can to get that dub. Honestly, the changeup was pretty impressive, dude. The way that Neil Magny was able to flip the switch, it's like he knew he was losing and he knew he was getting dominated, but it didn't bother him. He came into that third round still like confident. I mean, was confident the word I want to say? He came into that third round with a game plan, right? And I guess he was confident in his own abilities. Yeah, Magny went into that third round and he knew what he had to do. To him, he just was checking into the office. It's like sometimes you show up late, baby, but you still got to put in 100% effort and you know what the fuck to do, right? And that's basically what Magny did. Is he went in, he knew what the fuck to do. He throwing a lot of strikes, bro. He was overwhelmed Matthews with the strikes. He ends up getting him against the cage. And honestly, that's where Neil Magny does his best work, is his clench work. He wasn't able to get that off because every time he would try to clench, Matthews was able to bring him down. But this third round, he kind of came in with the fire. He gets Matthews against the cage, and let me see. What I think I wrote some stuff down. He gets him against the cage, and he's landing some good strikes. And dude, yeah, he's throwing like knees and short punches, man. He was getting Matthews pretty good. But Magny goes for a takedown. I don't know why. Every time he goes for a takedown, freaking Matthews was able to reverse it. Magny goes for a takedown, and just like that, Matthews puts him in the guillotine, and again stops the takedown, has him in a guillotine. Magny ends up spinning out of it, right, and he gets back to his feet. Right, and then he puts Matthews against the fence, starts landing knees, hooks, right? He's chasing Matthews. Every time Matthew tries to move, he's just not letting him go. Magny is able to get him on the ground, and Magny ends up putting him in a Darce choke, right? And he submits him, man. Neil Magny ends up submitting Jake Matthews in the third round. I believe there's a minute left on the clock, if I'm not mistaken, or less. And he submits him, bro. He comes back. A lot of people were booing the shit out of Neil Magny. They felt like it was taken out in that first round. I don't know. I don't agree with that, dude. I think the ref messed up, dude. It really looked like I don't know. I wasn't there, right? So maybe the ref saw something that we didn't see. Maybe Neil Magny really did go out, and then he came to like the second that Jake Matthews let him go. I think really we got to see another camera angle. So from what I heard, Jake Matthews' team is going to contest this fight. So I'm sure more evidence will be submitted, and like they'll have a better look at things, hopefully better camera angles. I'm sure the UFC is going to provide those, right? And we'll see. Maybe it'll be a no contest. Maybe we get a rematch. I'd be down to watch a rematch, dude. I don't know. I think there's a rematch though, and dude, Neil Magny, he pulled that trick out of his hat, right? He pulled that magic trick out of his hat, but that came because of experience, right? He came into that third round. He was even though he was physically broken, mentally he wasn't broken, right? That Darce choke is something that he's landed before, right? He's got long arms. He's able to land that Darce choke where others can't, So it's kind of like a bread and butter to him. I don't know if you can do that again, right? I mean, I don't know. Those are great things to have in your repertoire, But it looked like Jake Matthews just was all around able to just like, he just had more tools available to win, even though he didn't win. Doesn't always go down, right? But I mean, whatever, bro. We'll see what happens. And this next fight, we got Tom Nolan versus Charlie Campbell. This was a lightweight bout. Nolan was coming in with the 9-1-0 record, 5 KO. Campbell was coming in with the 9-2-0 record with 6 KO right off the bat. You know what we're dealing with. We got some mother effing strikers. You know what's going to happen is some mother effing fireworks. And that's what happened, man. I mean, Tom Nolan versus Charlie Campbell, that delivered all the fireworks we needed, baby. Nolan came out swinging. Campbell fired back and was ready to return. The momentum was going back and forth. I mean, this is just one of those fights where every exchange, like it's the crowd at the edge of their seats type. It was a good fight. First round was a banger fight. Like I said, bells ring. Guys I literally put these notes. Banger fight. I should proofread this and then make it sound better. Maybe run it through ChatGPT. Make this sound more professional, ChatGPT. I actually just recently used ChatGPT to make SOP for my work. Side note, it came out so good. I'm so glad I thought about that. But anyways, banger card, right when the bell rang, these guys were just put each other's fists in each other's faces, man. Campbell was pushing the pace, He's a more aggressive fighter. He sat Nolan down 2 times, bro, from what I remember. He sat Nolan down 2 times, and he let Nolan get back up both times, which I think might have been a mistake, right? He could have gone on top and did some ground and pound, but I guess he felt more confident in the striking department. I don't think he should have felt that confident. I think he was landing barely the better exchanges, but I don't think it was that much that crazy, But his hands were crazy. He seemed to be the stronger puncher. His right hand would land, and sometimes it would drop. Was it Nolan? Was his name, right? Yeah, Nolan. But Nolan was right there, bro, honestly. And exchange Campbell gets dropped. Yeah, I can't remember what Campbell got dropped. I think it was like an elbow or something. Nolan ends up taking his back and goes straight for the rear naked choke. Campbell taps, bro. Literally first round banger. And, good on for Campbell because he was recognizing like the striking exchanges weren't going to. He could have he might have been able to win the striking exchange, but he was like, let me try this grappling exchange real quick. Let me try grappling. Let me try the takedowns, the submissions. Let's see if I can get him with one of these a little bit easier. And he did. It's MMA, baby. I like the striking, but man, it's MMA. I like grappling when it's like stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Pause. I don't like the grappling when all you're doing is like laying on top of each other, wasting time. That was a good fight. Was that fight of the night? Didn't get performance of the night? Didn't write if they did, but yeah, good fight. Check it out. Absolute banger. First round finish. Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Earlson. Man, I skipped Jenkins. I skipped Jenkins. I wanted to talk about this fight because I liked how this fight went down. Jack Jenkins. I'm sorry. I skipped the Jack Jenkins fight. How could I do that, man? Jack Jenkins is a gangster. Freaking Australia's one and only. Love Jack Jenkins. This next fight I want to talk about is Jack Jenkins versus Raymond Tavares. Let me tell you about this fight, man. Jack Jenkins is a goddamn gangster. I've seen him fight in the past. I remember this guy. He likes to kick a lot. I like to kick a lot. Not sure if he's a city kickboxing guy. I didn't write if he is. But he very much likes the striking. It's kind of what he's only good at. And he very much favors the kicks. He can kick in MMA the way freaking kickboxers and Thai fighters kick in Muay Thai and kickboxing. Generally, you can't kick like that in MMA because you have the threat of the takedown. But Jack Jenkins does not give a fuck. He'll be able to throw body kicks and all that. This was a test for both men's durability. They basically hit the crap out of each other. Jenkins was fighting at home in Australia. He seemed to push the pace more, and he looked a lot more sharper than Tavares, at least in the first round. That second round, though, Tavares was able to pick things up. It seemed like he was kind of frozen at first, but I think after the second round is when he kind of came alive. Maybe that's just how he fights. I don't know. I don't remember much about Tavares. First round, man, right off the bat, Jack's throwing crazy kicks, bro. Some hard kicks. Kicks the leg, kicks the body. I think he lands a head kick. Surprisingly, dude doesn't get knocked out. I mean, for the most of the first round, Tavares was kind of like glued I think he was a southpaw, so he glued his left hand to his ribs, man. He just was scared of getting that body kick across his body and sending him down. And I think that kind of like was messing with him because he wasn't able to like really set up combinations, and he's kind of more focused on defending. Second round, though, Tavares, he kind of like came alive. He was able to apply more pressure. Jenkins does a good job at like coming in and kicking you and stuff, and then he'll fade backwards. And so a lot of the times he'll like dart, he'll jump in, kick you, and then jump back out, right? And then when you jump out to chase him, he'll kick you again and jump back out. So it's kind of a lot of people do this that are like primarily kickers just because you need that space to kick. So it's like you got to either move yourself out the way by moving backwards or cutting an angle and then allowing yourself to kick. Obviously moving backwards is better because it allows you to have full rotation of your hip when you do kick versus cutting an angle. Depending on which angle you cut, it's like you're going to be limited to which kick you can throw. Otherwise you're going to be cut off, and the swing is going to be cut off. It's not going to be as powerful as a strike, So you got to either move backwards to the side, or you can, set up teeps or jabs to kind of give you that space. He does a good job at doing it, right? And Tavares was falling into that game of like kind of like coming in, getting kicked, and moving around and getting kicked. The second round, Tavares kind of did a better job at saying he just kept coming forward and just started using a lot more boxing. And that's honestly what you got to do against the kicker is you want to step forward and try to not give him the ability to kick. Don't give him the space, and try to flood them with punches. Problem with that is Jenkins is he's not so bad with his hands either, and he has some strong knees. A lot of times when people stuff him, he'll just clench and throw a strong knee or two, But yeah, the second round, Tavares was having a lot better of a job, moving around and using his punches, Honestly, Jenkins, you just did a good job with his striking though. He was mixing stuff up good. He was moving around good. Third round, man, Jenkins starts grappling, right? He gets a body lock and takes Tavares down, and he lands in his half guard, and he basically just stays in his guard, and he kind of like the whole fight, I think, just basically stayed on his back, and he couldn't really get the submission or too many ground and pounds. But I get it, right? You have a fight like that. It was a close fight. Jenkins probably got first round, in my opinion. Tavares might have possibly gotten second round. I think for Jenkins, he was like, I gotta take him down and make sure I get that third round. When you're at this level, right, one loss can derail your career, right? You can take one loss, and then the next thing you know, you have to fight like, 2-3 guys that are ranked below you, or just 2-3 guys that aren't helping you get closer to, that title shot. But it is what it is, man. That's the sport of MMA, and especially with how stacked the divisions are getting, how big it's getting. You got to fight smart, right? And obviously, I would have loved to see him bang it out, man. I literally put that in my notes. Jenkins gets the dub, bro. Jenkins, I like his style. Jack Jenkins with the dub. Jack the Kickster. Love it. This is going to probably be a little bit longer than 30 minutes or so, but I do apologize. Dominick Reyes battle. He did not have the respect he needed for a while, He fought John Jones. It was a very close fight. In my opinion, I thought he won that fight. I got to rewatch it. Let me rewatch that, and I'll maybe do a segment on that. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do a fight review. Dominick Reyes versus John Jones. I thought he did enough, and unfortunately, after he lost that fight to John Jones, it's like the trajectory of his career. Like, he had some ups and downs, and then recently had a lot of downs. But Dominick Reyes was so sharp in that fight with John Jones, dude. John Jones was like dominating everyone, dude. And here Reyes was, man. This is up and comer, dude, not backing off. I remember the elbows. He landed a lot of good elbows in that fight, something that John Jones is usually known for, and he was able to stop the grappling exchanges. He was that guy for a while, and then, things happen, you fall off. Sometimes you lose once, and then it just kind of sends you on a spiral. And mental health is not to be played with, man. You got to understand, these fighters are people too. We have our good and we have our bad days. Clocking into a bad day in the office, it does terrible for your mental, right? It does, right? But yeah, so Carlos Ulberg versus Dominick Reyes. This is this was a heavyweight bout. Ulberg had coming in at a 13-1-0 MMA record, 8 KOs, 1 subs. Reyes 15-4-0, 10 KOs, 2 subs, right? Everything was identical, like almost on the dot, right? In terms of height, weight, age, even I think they're just 1 year apart. Dominick Reyes had some crazy fights, man. He has a lot of skills. That guy has, very, very. He likes to push the pressure. He's an exciting fighter. He's a dynamic strike. He was forward a lot. Didn't see any of that tonight. When he fought Ulberg, he was backing up the whole fight. Ulberg took the center immediately, and you could see Reyes kind of dancing around the outside, trying to establish his range. Couldn't really touch Ulberg, bro. Anytime he would throw a random kick. That's the one thing too, is he was opening up with a lot of head kicks, which I don't get why. It's like you're establishing your range. Maybe let's not go for the head kick immediately. Let's throw some low kicks, throw some teeps to the body, throw some jabs. Use your long tools to try to figure stuff out. Just touch him, right? Inside kicks, calf kicks. Ulberg was really good at sliding in and out. He had his range control was phenomenal. His ability to touch Reyes without letting Reyes touch him was just second to none that night. He looked comfortable. Right when the fight started, he looked very comfortable, silky smooth, He looked like he won the fight before the fight even started, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Reyes just couldn't find his timing, But eventually, Ulberg, he, in the first round, he ends up landing a 1-2. He KOs Reyes and if I remember correctly, I think he faked him out. I think he kind of went in and then pulled back. And then when he pulled back, Reyes came in, and then Reyes popped in with that 1-2. So it's kind of like a fake and then like a fadeaway kind of 1-2, bam, bam, KOs, Reyes, done, bro. I mean, literally off that 1-2 drops, he might have gotten a ground or two extra. It was fast, bro. I was kind of like, damn, this is the main event. Honestly, like I said, that fight, it looked like Ulberg's footwork was the biggest tool that he had. And he got performance of the night, by the way. I don't know how that works. When you get performance of the fight night, do you both get that money or just the guy that won? You let me know in the comments. But Carlos Ulberg, another city kickboxing guy. I'm telling you, dude, these city kickboxing guys are sharp. Obviously, you got Idris Adesanya, Volkanovski. These are two phenomenal strikers from Australia. That's where they call home. They had what's that guy's name? There's a city kickboxing guy. I'm sure he still coaches there. He was one of their fighters. He used to also coach at Tiger Muay Thai. Freak, can't remember his name. He fought Fazeev a long time ago. That was like his last fight. But I'm sure he's still over there to help out with the striking. So phenomenal striking coming out of city kickboxing. Carlos Ulberg, excited to see what the future has for him. Was this a heavyweight bout or a light heavyweight? Oh, light heavyweight. All right, so that's cool. Light heavyweight, they got some stuff. Kind of want to see more people get into heavyweight. I feel like that card's just lacking. Light heavyweight though. That's Carlos Ulberg. His place is there. Is he a ranked fighter? Let me see if he's even a ranked fighter. He should be ranked, right? But that brings his record though to 14-1-0 with 9 KOs. We like the KOs, baby. Keep the KOs coming. I'm gonna try to. I guess I'm just gonna cut that off because I feel like I've been rambling for a minute. I do want to bring up notable. Overall, UFC Fight Night in Perth, man, it delivered what the fans wanted. It had a lot of knockouts. It was technical battles, and and that controversy with Magny kind of makes it a little bit more interesting, right? Ulberg, his rise to the top, I mean, man, dude, it was a pretty good card. I mean, that's it for this breakdown. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Magny's Darce choke win. Do you feel like he should have been DQ'd, or do you feel like since the ref already called it should have gone to Jake Matthews? I don't know. It's tough because you're right. Like, you tell someone they won, it's like they freaking won, right? And if the ref messed up, I guess the ref messed up, and then maybe the right channels is for Magny to contest it. Then they overturn it, make it a no contest, and they can do a rematch maybe, right? And then they fire that ref. I guess that would be that way of handling it. Or I guess the other way would be the ref just saying, my bad, I messed up, let's continue the fight, right? It was 1 second. The stoppage, I guess, wouldn't have determined, it wasn't like it was going to affect the next going into the round other than the mental space, right? It didn't look like Jake Matthews cared that it went on to the next round. He was dominating the second round too. But the end result was he got choked out with that Darce, baby. And that is why you cannot count the veteran out. Magny is a gangster. He will find a way to win. That's what separates these veterans from these younger guys. See, the younger guys come in and their bodies are less beaten and they're younger, they're faster. They're able to, they have better conditioning, right? But the experience is being able to pull wins like that. That's what the veterans bring to the table, right? It's like their body hurts. They can't do the things they used to do. Their cardio isn't there anymore. Their speed's going away. Power stays, from what I heard. I don't know. Power stays, maybe, I guess. You tell me, guys. But from what I noticed, when the veterans do, a lot of the times these veterans leverage their fight IQ against their loss of speed and cardio, or whatever. They I feel like you think slower too as you age. I don't know. Who knows, guys? Eat mushrooms, get smart. Check out my last podcast with Joey Beltran. I hope this does good. I feel like YouTube's gonna give it a shadow ban because lately they've been shadow banning my stuff again lately. But I'm gonna try to chop this up and make this less than 30 minutes or less. It looks like I went on for a minute though. With that being said, thanks for listening. Goodbye, guys.